Cyberpunk 2077 is a game with a level of character customization that is truly incredible. The Cyberware system lets you make your character truly unique and gives you powerful abilities, from things as simple as armour under your skin or a pair of cybernetic lungs, to absolutely game-changing abilities like swords built into your arms and the ability to slow time or even rise from the dead. But today we ask the question, can you beat Cyberpunk 2077 without Cyberware? This playthrough starts like any other, by creating a beautiful vessel to suffer through this challenge with me. With our little baby girl forged in the fires of the character creator, it is time to start the game. I decided to go with the nomad life path for this playthrough, and got straight to business. Some coppers decided to come up and harass me to leave his town, and I don't really appreciate that. So I'm gonna hijack the town's radio antenna to get an update on a smuggling job I need to do on my way into Night City. The radio man told me that the client is hanging out in an old farmhouse a little bit out of town, so I got in my car, ran over an innocent pedestrian, and headed over to the farmhouse to meet my client. Luckily for everyone, the client is Jackie Wells, which means everything is awesome and nothing bad is ever going to happen. Jackie has a package and he needs my help to smuggle it through the border, so we put it in the back of my car and headed to the border. I let the security officer know that I was here to do some illegal smuggling, and handed him some money so that it would be our little secret. He's not very good at keeping secrets though, so now Arasaka is on our ass and I've got to do some gun shooting violence to keep them away from me. I'm very skilled at gun shooting violence though, so they all exploded and me and Jackie escaped to a garage in a town just outside of the city. Turns out we were smuggling a goofy little snake that has legs. The belegged snake was so cute that me and Jackie are now best friends. And there's even a cool Merc Friends doing cool Merc Friends stuff montage, just in case you didn't get the message. Now that we're best buddies, Wakako has sent us on a job to save one Sandra Dorset from the smelliest scav haunt ever stunk. The door to their odorous abode is a bit of an issue. To open it, I need to hack the door. Now to hack the door, I have to use Cyberware. So for those of you keeping score, that means I've lost. I've failed, and I cannot beat Cyberpunk 2077 without Cyberware. Because I am an incompetent loser that deserves to be locked away, never to see the sun again. That wouldn't make a very good YouTube video though, so I'm just going to keep playing and do my best to carry through with the challenge, like I didn't just have all of my hopes and dreams crushed by a f***ing door. Next, I cleared out the scavs nice and easily without having to use any cyberware, because that is kind of the whole point of this challenge, and found Sandra chilling in a bathtub. Anyway, Trauma Team took her away to get the medical attention she needs, and now I can wipe the words Gaussian blur from my mind forever. Some scavs tried to stop our getaway, but as previously stated, I am very skilled at gun shooting violence, so they all died and now they are all dead. On the way out of Westbrook though, there was a police lockdown being set up, which is not a situation that would be wise to apply gun shooting violence to. So I let Jackie use his absolutely timeless charm to get us through the lockdown, and went to bed back at my apartment in Watson to get some well-deserved sleep. When I woke up, the first thing I did was change my clothes, because if I can't look cool, then what is the point of playing this game? After getting dressed, I went downstairs to meet with Jackie to talk about a new job he's gotten for us. The job is for the largest fixer in Night City, Dexter Deshawn, but before I can go meet him, I've got to visit the Ripperdoc Vic Vector to get a virus I picked up from Sandra Dorset out of my head. Now this is meant to be where you install your first pieces of cyberware. My hope is that the game will be a good girl and let me opt out. Unfortunately, the game is a piece of shit and I hate it, so I have no choice but to install Kiroshi optics in my eyeballs and a ballistic coprocessor in my hand. And to really rub dirt in the wound, Vic made me test my scanner out. So for those keeping score, I have now failed the challenge twice. To attempt to make this a bit less disastrous, I'm rebinding my scan keys to different buttons, so I won't be accidentally scanning things out of muscle memory. Because I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I usually play as a netrunner in Cyberpunk, so I am used to scanning a lot. Now it's time to meet Dexter Shawn. He keeps asking me a lot of personal questions, which was annoying, but he intends to help me make a lot of eddies by hiring me to steal a piece of prototype Arasaka tech from Yorinobu Arasaka's penthouse suite at Konpeki Plaza. He has a couple of things he wants me to do before that though. Those tasks are to talk to the client that's bankrolling this whole operation, Evelyn Parker, because she is kind of weird and may have more intel, and the other task is to collect a robotic gentleman from some Maelstrom dickheads. I decided that I'm going to handle Evelyn first and headed straight over to Lizzie's bar to meet her. Evelyn has something that should be very helpful, a brain dance that she recorded of the inside of Yorinobu's apartment, so I'm going to take a look at that right away. Cyberpunk 2077 is the best game ever made, so I get to meet Judy before I go through the brain dance, and any time with my beloved Judy is a treasure that I value more than life itself. Anyway, Judy set me up with a BD wreath, so I called my netrunner T-Bug to help me out, and we went in to look around Konpeki Plaza. The brain dance gave me a few important pieces of information, like a look at the apartment's defenses, being some turrets hidden in the roof, and Atom Smasher. On top of getting a look at the defenses, I used thermal vision to find where that silly little relic doohickey is hiding. Now to help get the robotic gentleman from Maelstrom, I could have contacted a Militech agent to help out with getting him, but this video is going to be long enough as is, so I met up with Jackie and headed into the Maelstrom Chrome Den to get my hand on that robotic gentleman. Dum Dum gave us a warm welcome and we started talking business. Now there is a little bit of a problem. Dex paid up front for the little fella to Brick, the leader of Maelstrom. Unfortunately for us, Brick is no longer the leader of Maelstrom, and their new leader Royce has no intentions to honor the deal. So I gave him a quick little boop on the head and started my way through these disgusting Cyberware users with no mercy. I am planning on using blades as my primary weapons, so I made sure to use a katana for most of this fight for that sweet, sweet Blades XP. Seeing as now I've finished both of the tasks that Dex asked me to do for him, I gave him a call and we agreed to meet up at the Afterlife to go through the plan with all parties in person before the job. At the Afterlife, we watched a shard with the plan on it. It's a shit plan, but I think it's going to work. So I guess there's nothing left to do but grab the robotic gentleman and hop in the Delamain to Konpeki Plaza. The security at the hotel was not a fan of the robotic gentleman, so we used the classic excuse that the dog ate our homework and proceeded to check into the hotel and head straight up to our room. Now that we have some privacy, it's time to bring out the gentleman, because he has waited far too long for his time to shine. I took the control shard from Jackie, and T-Bug jacked me into the hotel's cameras so that I can effectively help him navigate through the hotel to the security room, because this little champion is going to take out the hotel's netrunner for us. The gentleman robot is a smart creature, so it barely needed any help getting to the hotel's security room. And when it got to the netrunner, it searched through its extensive library of futuristic lethal face-sitting Wattpad smut to take out the dweller, allowing me to move on to my next task. My next task is to wait for T-Bug to shut down the hotel's security. so I patiently waited for T-Bug to shut down the hotel's security. Once we were done waiting, we strolled casually into the penthouse, opened up the relic's hiding space, and Jackie grabbed the suitcase. Now all we have to do is walk out of Konpeki Plaza like nothing happened. One problem has come up though. Yorinobu is on his way back up to his apartment, so me and Jackie have made the decision to hide in this pillar until he leaves. There has been another small complication as well. Adam fucking Smasher just walked in with him. If he spots us, it's over. Things literally could not get any worse. Guess what? It got worse. Saburo Arasaka, the founder and CEO of Arasaka, just entered the penthouse with his bodyguard. Luckily, the Arasakas sent their bodyguards away, so now all that I have to do is wait for them to finish talking and we can make our getaway. That is, of course, unless this happens. Well, our getaway is going to have to be a bit quicker than expected, so T-Bug quickly opened the window, then died, and we started to make our way to a roof access ladder to make our escape. Unfortunately, an AV spotted us, so our plans to go up have rapidly turned into plans to go down. We successfully went down, but the prototype chip is damaged. Oh, and I suppose Jackie's damaged as well. We got Evelyn Parker on the holo, and she told us that the only way to stop the chip from degrading further is to put it in one of our heads. Jackie did it because I am far too important to ever put potentially hazardous prototype tech into my neurosocket. The last thing Jackie and me have to do is fight our way through an army's worth of hotel security, Arasaka agents, and NCPD officers to get back to Delamain and make our definitive escape. Unfortunately, none of the bastards have blades on them, so for this whole fight, I will just have to use guns, which is not what my plan was for this playthrough, but whatever, I'll just use the tools I have available to me and get through the fight. This robot decided to be really nice to me and take ages to kill, so now I get to time-lapse it while I say this, so I hope you enjoy that. Anyway, with the not-so-gentlemanly robot defeated, we ran past the cops in the garage and hopped in the Delamain to make our escape. We fucking did it. We got out of Konpeki Plaza alive, and we have the prototype. I mean, Jackie is gonna die in a couple of seconds, but other than that, everything is great. Before he died, Jackie made sure to put the potentially hazardous prototype tech into my neurosocket, which is pretty inconsiderate of him, seeing as I said specifically that I was too important for that to happen, but I'll just deal with it after I meet up with Dex. Dex has decided that he doesn't like me anymore, so he pulled out his gun and shot me in the head. And now, I am dead. Now that I'm dead, I guess the next place to go is hell. And who would have known that my own personal hell includes becoming actor Keanu Reeves, famous for his roles in hit movies DC, League of Super Pets, and the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run. Mr. Reeves decided to do some singing, and then decided to one-up himself by meeting a group of mercenaries on the roof to pull off the biggest terrorist attack in history. The target of this attack is none other than Arasaka Tower. The guy whose job it was to shoot the big gun for us turned out to be really bad at his job. So now I'm gonna have to shoot the gun for him, because even in death I am very skilled at gun shooting violence. After I finished up with all the shooting and the explosions and the death, I checked on my thermonuclear charges and jumped out of the AV. Elevators are excellent tools for getting bombs into basements, so I put the bomb in the elevator and shot out the cables to let it fall all the way into the murky depths of Arasaka Tower. I could leave the tower now, but I really want to upload my little manifesto to the Arasaka subnet first, so it's time to fight my way through a few more Arasaka wage slaves to find an access point to upload the manifesto. It was pretty easy in no small part because Keanu's pistol is super powerful in the most fun way imaginable. I found the access point and uploaded the manifesto. Now I've just got to fight my way back up to the rooftop and make my escape. Unfortunately for the Matrix 4 Resurrections star, Adam Smasher decided that I wasn't going to make it to the rooftop. Luckily, I'm an actor, so I have the ability to cut the scene to me on the rooftop about to make my escape. Adam Smasher decided to use a counterattack by shooting me with his big-ass wrist-mounted gun. So now I'm really screwed. Guns are made for wounding, not killing. So now I'm in some building with a great view and my close personal friend, Saburo Arasaka. Being a close personal friend, Saburo knows that my biggest weakness is ugly hats. So he put a downright despicable hat on me, and it was so bad that I ascended to cyberspace. At this point, I'm pretty sick of the whole being dead thing, so I decided to wake up in a dump outside of the city and start crawling out of there as quickly as I could. Dex must have felt bad because he came back to drag me out of the dump with Saburo's failed bodyguard Goro Takamura with him. Takamura decided to shoot Dex in the head. I can only hope that his death is a little bit more permanent than mine. Goro is a true friend, so he let me ride in his car to get out of the dump, and all I had to do to repay him was shoot a bunch of Arasaka ninjas chasing us on bikes, which works well for both of us because that happens to be a passion of mine. What doesn't work so well is the car, because Takamura crashed it. So I called Dalamain to take us to Vic's clinic because I have a feeling the bullet that's still in my head may be a slight problem. At Vic's, I took a long ass nap. Days at least. Can't be sure how long exactly, and now that I'm awake, things aren't going amazingly. I'm seeing shit, and Vic tells me that there is quite literally a terrorist in my head. I'm sure at least one of you can relate. The prototype chip includes a copy of Johnny Silverhand's personality on it, and it started taking over my brain after I died, slowly turning me into him. That's right. The worst case scenario has happened. I have made myself look foolish by referring to Johnny Silverhand as Keanu Reeves. I don't think I'm ever going to recover from this, but Misty decided to help me back to my apartment, where she gave me some pills to make things better and some pills to make things worse, because it's always nice to have options. All that time sleeping at Vic's has made me really tired though, so I'm gonna try to get some sleep before I decide what my next move should be. Keanu Reeves, Johnny Silverhand isn't a big fan of the sleeping idea, so he's woken me up to let me know that he thinks I should let him take full control of my body, or alternatively, kill myself in Minecraft. I don't think that's a very productive line of thinking though, so I'm just gonna take the blue pill and fall back asleep. When I woke up properly, I went to go talk to Takamura about our next move. Goro wants me to take the issue to the Arasaka Corporation and tell them about Yorinobu's crime, which I think is a terrible idea, but fortunately the conversation has brought forward two more options as well. Anders Hellman and Evelyn Parker, the man who designed the prototype chip and the woman who organized the heist. One or both of these people will surely be able to figure out something that can help me. Johnny's decided that he is too important to stay quiet and needs to have a chat with me after Takamura left. On the bright side, he doesn't want me to die or to take over my body anymore, so we should get along much better now. He also recommended that to find Hellman, I should get in touch with his old tower exploding friend, Rogue. I don't have enough money to hire her, so I'm just gonna go to Lizzie's bar and ask Judy about where I can track down Evelyn. Judy told me that Ev has gone AWOL, and that I should do some snooping at Clouds where she works to try to figure out where the hell she is. I have a very big decision to make at Clouds. Do I want to have my session with Angel or Sky? I can hardly think of a harder decision that I've ever had forced upon me. It really is cruel that I have to choose one and can't do both. But I ended up going with Angel because his name was the one my cursor was over when the dialogue prompt appeared. I used my safe word immediately in the booth and started asking questions about Ev. Angel doesn't know much, but what he does know is that Tom up in the VIP area might know more. Tom doesn't know much, but what he does know is that Woodman might know more. So I snuck into his office to have a little chat. He isn't just unhelpful, he's also just not very nice. So I stabbed him to death and got info on Evelyn from his computer. The computer told me that Ev was given to the Ripperdoc Fingers. But before I can pay him a visit, I'm going to have to quickly stab my way through a bunch of tiger claws to get out of Clouds. I took some hits, but overall the fight was easy, and they really should have not even dreamed of trying to take me out. I would leave straight away, but not Keanu Reeves wants to tell me something, so he gave me a slowly dying attack so that I'm a captive audience and got to talking. He thinks that the only place I can go to fix my dying problem is Mikoshi, the digital prison of souls he was trapped in for all those years. To get into Mikoshi, he wants to enlist his friend Alt Cunningham to get us in. But she's been dead for 64 years, so it's a pretty shit idea, and I'm just going to go meet Judy at Fingers Clinic instead. I mercilessly beat the information I needed out of Fingers, because I fucking hate that little weasel, and he's lucky I didn't feel like killing him today. He told me that he gave Ev to a snuff BD group called the Death's Head Moth, so I bought one of their BDs from a street vendor and headed back to Judy's van to search it for clues. There sure were clues, enough of them that I know exactly where they are. They really should have known better than to leave cold coffee lying around in their brain dances. At the Scav studio, I did try to be all stealthy at first, but I ended up deciding that not only are they not worth the effort, but it is also just so much more fun to run around stabbing and stabbing and stabbing and stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. Unfortunately, I ran out of flesh to run my knife through and found Evelyn chilling on a floor in a particularly smelly room. She's not dead, but she's also not conscious, so she can't really do much for me right now. So I'm going to let Judy go ahead and violate her privacy by searching her brain for brain dances she's recorded that could help me out. They were quite educational. I discovered that Evelyn was hired by a netrunner gang called the Voodoo Boys to take the braindance of Yorinobu's penthouse, and then backstabbed them by organizing the entire heist by herself, which is all the information I need, so I no longer care what happens to her. It sure seems like the Voodoo Boys might be able to help me somehow, so I gave Mr. Hands a call and let him know that I need to get in touch with the Voodoo Boys. He told me that he'll get back to me later. I'm going to use this opportunity to start getting myself more money so that I can hire Rogue. I have 10,000 eddies and I'm going to need 15,000 to pay her. So to get started, I just went to a shop and sold a couple grand worth of stuff. Next, I did an active crime. I took a death the first try around, which I am blaming entirely on my lack of cyberware, because a Sand Devistan really would make melee combat a whole lot easier. To get my last little bit of money, I did a gig for Regina to steal a van from some tiger claws. It would have been quicker if I didn't kill all of them, but completing the gig brings us up to 16,000 eddies, which is all that really matters. Back at the afterlife, Rogue took all of my money and told me that Hellman is going to be on a Kang Tao AV out of Night City soon, and that to have a chat with him, I should talk to Panam about hijacking the AV. We decided that I help her get her car and her cargo back from some Raffins, and she'll help me with the AV. Before we perform our ambush though, Panam wants to swing by the Elder Caldo's camp to see if any of her old clanmates can help. Unfortunately, Saul is a complete dickhead and is making Mitch and Scorpion stay at the camp to guard some generators. So we just stole some supplies and a sniper rifle and headed over to Rocky Ridge to ambush some Raffins. A tragedy has taken place. For the third time this playthrough, I am forced to scan things with my stupid, worthless Kuroshis to progress the story. On the bright side, the scan revealed that we're going to be able to turn the power on for everything at once to really spook the shit out of the Raffins when they show up. We activated the trap, and yep, they're a little confused. Not entirely sure what that gets us, but at least they're sticking around, so I can start getting all close to them with the knife. I used stealth to take out a large chunk of them, but this one asshole is sitting on a chair that I simply cannot sneak up on, so I ended up killing the rest of them much more violently and louder to get some sweet, sweet revenge on that chair-sitting fucker. I picked up the key from the Raffin leader and got in Panam's car to deliver the cargo. Panam has other ideas. Nash, the guy that stole the car and the cargo, didn't show up, so she wants us to drive to the Raffin camp and kill everyone there as well. I wanted to say no to her. I was going to say no to her, but I just can't say no to her. So now it's time to slaughter some Raffins. Considering I didn't want to go, it was a great time. Nash is dead, and so are 13 of his close friends and family, all stabbed or shot so many times that even if he was still alive, he wouldn't be able to recognize them. Next, we met up with the 6th Street buyer, handed over the merchandise, and headed into a bar to have a drink and talk about the plan for getting my grubby little Gannic hands on Hellman. Panam says she's nearly got the plan finished and just needs to sleep on it, so I said we should only get one room, and she said that's a great idea, and then she said that the rooms have 2 beds each. In the morning, Panam filled me in on the plan. We're going to hijack a nearby power plant and make it do a big explosion right as the AV flies overhead to hit it with an EMP, making the rest of the job as simple as grabbing Hellman from the wreckage. On the way into the power plant, our only opposition was some security drones, but the marriage of my gun-shooting violence skills and Panam's car's turret made very short work of them. Overcharging everything at the power station made me feel not so good. All of my stupid organic flesh is not very good at being electrocuted and kept trying to die. Johnny wasn't a fan of this either, and as the most important person in the universe, he made sure to make his displeasure known. Anyway, the trap is ready to spring, and I get to press the button. The button is broken, so I just start pushing it harder and angrier, and it worked! The button may have worked, but the EMP didn't. The AV is still in the air. Luckily, Panam doesn't leave home without an anti-aircraft rocket launcher, and that is why I love her. Things can't always go right though. Mitch and Scorpion are idiots and think the AV is civilian, and are bringing a group of nomads to go and help any survivors of the crash. So now, they're all going to die. I'm right about them all dying, with one exception. Mitch is fine, so I really should rescue him before chasing after Hellman. To my surprise, knives are pretty good at killing robots, which is weird because it's just metal on metal, but I'm not going to complain about it. The Kang Tower pilot has taken Mitch hostage, but bullets are pretty good at killing people, which isn't as weird as knives being good at killing robots, but I still think it's cool. Me and Pan went to get on some bikes and chase after Hellman, but this game is the worst game ever made, so it's going to make me scan some tire tracks before I get on a bike. Now I could potentially just run after the Kang Tower folk, but that would take a long time, and seeing as I've already had to use Cyberware 3 times, I really don't think it's worth it. If you disagree with me on this, make sure to like, subscribe, and shit talk me in the comments. The tracks led to a gas station covered in Kang Tower guards, so I'm pretty confident that that's where they're keeping Hellman. I managed to get to him by only killing one guard, because I am the stealthiest merc in all of NC. I knocked him out and called Takemura to let him know that he can play with Hellman once I'm done with him. Outside of the gas station, the entire Elder Caldo clan appeared to meet me. Saul came forward to thank me for my help with this whole situation and to hang the threat of getting kicked out of the clan over Panam's head. Hellman was not very helpful. He gave me a quick scan and told me that I was going to die and that there is nothing that can be done about it. He even had the nerve to offer me a referral to an end-of-life care facility. He did give me the schematics for the relic though, so that was pretty useful of him, assuming I can find someone that knows how to use them. I really hope Takimura kills him. Johnny has decided that it's time for me to start getting all dizzy and to have a heart-to-heart with him. I disagree, so I took a pill and left to make my next move. My next move is to find some busy work to do while I wait for Mr. Hands or Takimura to give me a call to unlock another main quest. I found an old bootleg concert recording for Johnny, followed a drone for Delamain, and bought a quick hack for the late great T-Bug. Mr. Hands finally called, and the Voodoo Boys have agreed to let me speak to their leader as long as I do a job for them first. So I'm off to a chapel in Pacifica to meet up with them to find out more about this job. On the way to the chapel, Takimura called and told me that he set a meet with someone to talk about my predicament, which is great because it means I won't have to wait around for him to call after I finish up with the Voodoo Boys. In the chapel, a man told me to find someone called Placide at the butcher shop. The man at the butcher shop told me to head to the back to find Placide, and Placide told me to follow him. The job is to investigate a strange van connected to a group of animals in the Grand Imperial Mall and put a stop to whoever is up to whatever. Before I left, Placide also linked to me so that he can see everything I see, which can go up on the pile of things he's done that annoy me. I managed to get all the way to the van without any violent incidents occurring and connected to it while remaining super duper sneaky. I got disconnected from the van pretty quickly, but I was in just long enough to find out that there is a Netwatch agent behind all of this. So my next task is to find him and then get him to have a permanent nap. My stealth approach failed pretty much immediately after that, but when I got to the animal's boss, I discovered something amazing. I may be kind of fragile and weak and pathetic because of my lack of cyberware, but my blades build absolutely melted poor Matilda. I've got a perk that adds bleeding to targets and a perk that gives me health when I hit a target inflicted by bleeding. So she has absolutely no chance against me. The Netwatch agent let me know that the Voodoo Boys plan to kill me. I wouldn't have trusted him, but I've actually played this game before and he is definitely telling the truth. So I let him remove the virus Placide planted on me and went to go have a chat with him and Brigitte. Placide is displeased with me, but luckily his mummy told him to put me down, so I'm going to live to fight another day. Brigitte will help me with the relic if I do something for her first. What a surprise! She wants to take a little chunk of Johnny and use it to find Alt Cunningham beyond the Black Wall. That's right, Alt is alive, just in the form of a dangerous rogue AI instead of a person. To extract the necessary piece of Johnny's engram, Brigitte took me down to the basement and gave me a nice warm bath before sending me into cyberspace where it will be easier for her to get what she needs. She then went ahead and triggered another Keanu Reeves flashback while trying to steal a piece of him, which is quite rude of her, but there's nothing I can do about it now. We start off the flashback with some music, but it is cut short by a gunshot, and I just think that whoever did that gunshot that came from my gun that was in my hand is very rude and inconsiderate. In my dressing room, Alt is waiting for me, so I took my normal pills and prepared myself to have to blur the footage on screen now. After we finished up, Alt decided it was time to lecture me, so I told her to leave and she left. But I don't want her to leave, so I followed her. Unfortunately, we aren't the only people out here, so I killed 3 people and got stabbed 2 times. So if you're keeping count, I am winning this encounter. Before I passed out, I watched some strangers who almost definitely work for Arasaka drag Alt into a van and drive away. I woke up at a Ripperdocs with a journalist named Thompson who apparently helped me out of the alleyway, and I was told that I need to take it easy for a while and let my wounds heal. So I told Thompson that we are going to be launching an attack on Arasaka Tower tonight to get Alt back. Before we head to the tower, I've got to stop by the Atlantis bar to recruit Rogue's help, because I don't like the idea of Thompson being my only backup. She doesn't want to do it, so I offered her a large amount of money, and now she's in, and so is the guy with her. Arasaka decided to come to the Atlantis themselves to get this party started early, which is perfectly fine with me, because there is nothing I love more than blasting Saka scum. This may be a suicide mission, but we still want to survive, so to keep Saka distracted, I use my status as famous rocker boy twink of the century to start a riot right at Arasaka's front door. Now all that's left to do is fight through some unfortunate souls on the way to ult. I'm going to be honest, these flashback fights are super easy on account of the fact that this is a no cyberware challenge, and you kind of don't have any cyberware as Johnny, excluding the arm of course, but that doesn't really have an effect on any combat. Anyway, I fought through all the baddies and got to ult. I shot the guy with his head off because it was ugly and I thought he might look better without it, and he does. Unfortunately though, I am too late and ult is dead, so I beat the life out of Thompson and got the fuck out of this flashback. Brigitte is about as good at being open and honest as Placide, and is sending me across the black wall instead of doing it herself. So I gave the wall a poke and now I'm with ult. Before Brigitte could talk to her though, Netwatch killed all of the voodoo boys in the net with me, and ult took me over to a data fortress to talk in private. Turns out, she really doesn't care about Johnny, but she is willing to help me to get the chip out of my head, as long as I get her into Mikoshi. That sounds fair to me, so I woke up and started looting all of the dead net runners around me. The last thing to do before I can leave Pacifica never to return is to fight through some voodoo boys, because I was kind of in a room alone with their freshly killed leader taking her clothes off, so they're not very happy with me. It was a pretty good time, got to test out a new machete I picked up and it works fantastically. I do have to say though, at this point in the game, I am feeling so vulnerable in combat without any cyberware. Usually by this point I would have at the very least some subdermal armour and a nice showstopper like a Sandevistan, but this time I have nothing. Nothing was still plenty to take out those chumps though, so now it's time for me to head outside, where Johnny decided that it was time to talk. This video is already way too long, so I just had a quick smoke, popped a pill and headed over to the Japantown waterfront in the middle of the night to meet with Takemura. We are waiting to meet Hanako Arasaka's bodyguard Oda. He showed up alone, which is good, but what isn't so good is that he isn't listening to a word Goro is saying, which means that the plan to use him to get to Hanako and bring the knowledge of Yorinobu's patricide into the light isn't going to work. Luckily, Takemura has another plan. We will simply sneak into a float that Hanako will be making a speech on during a big parade with a lot of security and talk to her directly there. The first thing we need to do is get some information on the parade from Wakako. She decided to give us the information for free, which is strange, but certainly not a problem. I've got some time to kill while I wait for Takemura to put the plan together, so I purchased the shittiest car I have seen in my life. So that was a big mistake, but not one I will ever regret. I met Takemura at the site that the parade will take place at, and he told me the plan. First thing I need to do is take an infected shard and put it inside of Hanako's float over at the Arasaka Industrial Park. And then, on the day of the job, I need to take out some snipers and a netrunner so that he can get to Hanako without being turned into a pile of goop. He wants to do some recon on the industrial park, and I made the mistake of offering to go along with him. Why is that a mistake, you might ask? Because for the 5th time, I had to use scanning in order to conduct recon, which is something I just wish I had the foresight to avoid, but I didn't. For this mission, you are heavily recommended to use stealth, but I picked up a few perks recently, and I just want to run in and kill everyone to test them out. And it was great. I haven't done a full melee build in Cyberpunk before, and it is absolutely amazing. I 100% recommend that you give it a go next time you play the game if you haven't already. Well, now I've bugged the float, the only thing left to do is head to the parade and execute the plan. There are 3 snipers that I have to take out before Takemura can break into the float. This should be super easy. I say should for a very good reason. I must have been drinking some kind of stupid juice to die the amount of times I did here. I ran into mines multiple times, stabbed explosive barrels twice, and burnt myself to death under the float jets. I did eventually take out all of the snipers, and found a netrunner to kill off, which would make everything nice and clean. Oda has grown big sword arms, and is here, and is angry at me, so I'm going to use my small knife to completely outclass him in the easiest boss fight of the game so far. With all opposition removed, all Takamura has to do is have a nice, calm conversation with Hanako. It should be super easy. I say should be, once again, for a very good reason. Because Goro has decided to kidnap Hanako, and now we're going to have to talk to her in a suspicious little motel room instead of just doing it on the float like we had planned. Turns out kidnapping her hasn't done anything to make her listen to us more openly. She just is not going to buy what we're selling. Not that it matters, because Adam Smasher is here, which means Takamura is dead, and I probably will be soon. Luckily, the people that built this hotel weren't unionized, so they did a pretty bad job of it, and the floor broke, allowing me to escape. That takes care of the Adam Smasher problem. Now I just need to deal with the rest of the Arasaka forces in the building. Johnny told me to sneak past them, but I find stabbing people with a knife way too fun to do that, so I stabbed them all until they died. With them all dead, all that's left for me to do is get the fuck out of NC and go to a motel for losers, because me and Johnny, we're pretty big losers. Johnny says that if anyone comes near the door, I should shoot them so hard that they explode. So when someone came and knocked on the door, I let them in immediately without even asking who it was. Turns out it's Hanako using a body double to speak to me. She has decided that now she believes me about the whole Yorinobu killing Saburo thing, and that we should meet at Embers in the city. Now I could go straight to Embers and meet her straight away to finish the game and therefore this video, but that's not what I'm going to do. I don't feel like crawling up in a ball and crying after finishing the game, so there is no way that I'm going to be doing the Arasaka ending. What I am going to do is the Nomad ending, because I've actually never played as Male V before, and romancing Panam is something I very much wish to experience. Because God loves me and wants me to become a narcissist, I only had to do one little active crime before Panam called me about her next quest. Saul has been kidnapped, and regardless of the fact that he is a stinky man with stinky opinions, Panam is the only one willing to save him. I say Panam is the only one willing to save him, but it's more like she's willing to watch me sneak into the Raffen camp and rescue him for her. Doing recon on the camp, I made a bit of a silly mistake by going AFK thinking it would do the entire section by itself, but no. The game wants me to scan some stuff during the recon. Some of you might think that scanning things with the recon drone counts as using cyberware, but you are wrong. The drone is not part of my body, and if I'm being honest, if you were thinking that, I think you're kind of stupid. Anyway, instead of following the plan and sneaking into the camp, I just decided to stab them all with my knife and made them leak until they were empty. Because if it can work against the Arasaka Industrial Park, it sure should work against some hapless little field rats. Saul wasn't looking so good, so I decided to use drugs. Not on me, on him. Not that I didn't want to use some. I think they were expired anyway, so I'm willing to accept that he didn't leave any for me, but I'm not happy about it. We fought through a few more people on the way to the car, then fought through several carfuls more while driving away through a storm, until we arrived at an old farmhouse to hide out in. Saul was all grumpy like the old man he is, but he went to bed, and that means I get to attempt to romance Panam. She rejected me, so that sucks. The entire reason I wanted to go with the nomads was a waste of time, so I'm just going to go to sleep and hope that I don't wake up. When I did eventually wake up, and I'm sure glad I did, Panam gave me a kiss. This is what victory feels like, and I feel like I've had the weight of my 5 failures in this playthrough lifted, and that I can finally continue the challenge without them weighing heavy on my soul. For our next job, Panam wants my help to steal a Militech basilisk. Saul absolutely hates the idea, but who even cares what he wants? He's just a loser with no friends, and I honestly don't know why the Elder Kodos still put up with his bullshit. On the bright side, it won't just be me and Pan doing this job. Mitch and the rest of the vets are going to be helping us out, seeing as they know firsthand how much a piece of military equipment like a basilisk could help the clan. The plan is simple. We're going to hijack a train and use it to block the path of the Militech convoy. Then do some cold-blooded killing and take the trucks carrying the basilisk. At the train yard, I was really scared that I was going to have to scan things to find the punch card I need to get the train working, or to find the machine to put the punch card in. CD Projekt Red has smiled on me today though, so we had no such misfortune. And now that the train is ours, I can have a nice talk with Panam without any feelings of shame. She told me that she's scared of being impulsive and ruining our relationship by becoming more than friends. So I told her that she has a piece of food stuck in her teeth and went back downstairs to sit around and wait with the rest of the nomads. It is now daytime and we have a robbery to commit. Time to get in the car and follow a train. We aren't the smartest bunch though, and didn't realize that trains are actually quite heavy. So I had to use the turret to take out a coupling to one of the train cars, and also a handful of drones as well, just for fun. The Militech security by the convoy went down to my knife even easier than the Raffins before them, and it definitely wasn't just easy because I had a whole group of nomads helping me out. We took the basilisk back to camp, and who could have seen this coming? Saul is furious, so Panam yelled at him back because she is the best and he is the worst. Before leaving camp, Panam let me know that she'll call me in about a day when the basilisk is finished being constructed. So I fast traveled away, broke these windows so thoroughly that I imagine that I'm the first of over 20 million people that have played this game to have ever done so as violently as I have today. Then I waited 24 hours to get a call from Panam and headed back to the nomad camp. The basilisk is even cooler in one piece, so me and Panam hopped straight in and started it up. The stupid thing requires 2 people to operate, because using the weapons and the movement at the same time would turn one person's head into a novelty ashtray. First up, she had me practice with the movement, then the weapons. Now, it's time to both link to the basilisk at the same time, connecting our nervous systems and making us feel everything doubled. We could use this opportunity to get some practice piloting the basilisk properly, but instead, a sex happens. So that's unexpected. 10 out of 10 scene in my opinion though, entirely because of the weird green shots from the basilisk's point of view. Unfortunately, Raffins decided that now would be a great time to attack the camp. So now we have to take them out using the basilisk while completely naked. They got absolutely decimated. It's almost like we were using a piece of military equipment to take out civilian vehicles and unarmored targets. I was a bit concerned when it came to getting out of the basilisk, due to the whole nudity situation, but fortunately, our clothes have magically returned to our bodies. Less fortunately, Saul does not seem very happy. Things are not always as they seem though. Saul has decided that Panam is now a co-leader of the Elder Kaldos with him, which is a truly fantastic development because it means that one of the leaders of the clan is my girlfriend, so I'll be able to use these chumps to get into Mikoshi when the time comes. Panam took me to the camp's bar to celebrate. Unfortunately, I had one sip of beer, got knocked out, and started bleeding from my rectum. When I woke up, I was in the Nomad's new camp, and Panam really wants an explanation about the whole passing out thing. I don't want to embarrass myself by admitting that I'm a lightweight, so I just blamed it on the relic in my head slowly killing me by turning me into someone else situation. she bought it, and both she and Saul said that they would do anything they could to help, which is exactly what I needed to hear. So I'm off to Embers to meet with Hanako and enter the endgame. Hanako tells me that there is an access point to Mikoshi underneath Arasaka Tower, and that if I help her force Yorinobu to face the consequences of his actions, she'll help me get to it. I told her I would think about it and left. Johnny thought that I was telling the truth when I said I would think about it, so he stole my hand and stopped the elevator halfway down so that he could tell me not to listen to Hanako. I told him that I'm going to get the nomads to help me instead. He told me not to do that either. Real helpful, Johnny. Unfortunately, he's not a fan of sarcasm and made me trip and fall and hit my head just so he can take my body and walk me to Vic's for a quick checkup. Vic tells me that I'm going to die imminently and that I should stop fucking around and actually do something about it, which is the exact kind of negative energy that will only make my condition worse. So I got up, grabbed a gun and some pills, and went up to the roof with Misty, because she is a much nicer person. She didn't stay up on the roof for long, which is fine because me and Johnny really need to talk. We have to decide what our next move is. I already decided earlier though, so I called Panam and she told me she'll come pick me up as quickly as she can. Back at the Aldecaldos camp, we began to plot and plan how the hell we are going to get underneath Arasaka Tower. We will simply dig a hole, tunnel under the tower, and get in that way. How does one tunnel underneath a tower when they have only a day or two left to live tops, you might ask? We use the basilisk to attack a construction site and steal a big tunneling machine to use, because doing it with shovels would just take way too long. Before we attack though, I need to go for a quick dip in the net to let Alt know that it's time to infiltrate Mikoshi. Carol and Dakota have offered for me to use their rig, which is great. I hopped in the warm bath and had a quick chat with Alt. She told me that she's going to infect a shard for me, and all I need to do is plug it into an access point at the tower and she'll handle everything else. Saul has asked to speak to me, and for once that isn't a bad thing, I promise. I am being invited to become an official member of the Aldecaldo family, which is awfully nice of them, but I hope they know as soon as I'm not dying, I am going to leave and become a street merchant selling carbonated drinks and juices, because that is secretly my true calling in life. The last thing I've got to do before the attack is go talk with Panam. She's very nervous because of how we are kind of probably sending the clan to its death. I don't have anything I can do to fix that, so I just slept up on a rock with her like some kind of reptilian. Before we made it to the construction site, our piece of shit basilisk stopped working, so I had to use a sniper to keep some drones off our ass while Panam fixed the tank up. Panam is amazing, so it's working now, and it's time to take out some security. The vehicles and stuff out the front was super easy to deal with because of the fact we have a whole tank, but then the basilisk broke again, so now I'm going to have to start dealing with the security with my knife. It's all going great. I may have taken a stupid death by stabbing an explosive barrel again, but I can take out a goddamn Arasaka mech with a pocket knife, so all these fleshy idiots have literally nothing they can do to stop me. The security was even shouting that I have corpse cyberware chipped, and that's why I'm cleaning them up so easily, but I think we both know that that simply is not true. I am struggling a bit taking out these cars full of people, and even took a couple of deaths, but death cannot stop me. A crash could though. I lied, a crash couldn't stop me. I'm back, and this time, dying didn't stop me either. Well, the security is dealt with, which means it's time to get to tunneling. At the end of the tunnel, Mitch and Saul are having a heated conversation. Mitch wants to take the basilisk back up the tunnel alone to help out the rest of the clan. It will probably explode his head, but we let him go anyway and tunneled underneath Arasaka headquarters without him. It didn't take long in the tower to run into some trouble, which is perfectly fine with me because I get a lot of pleasure out of killing, and trouble means there's a whole bunch of killing to get done. I killed my way to a security room and found an access point, so I slipped the shard from Alt in, and from now on she should be able to handle most of the killing herself. The way's clear to Mikoshi. There should be just one more room to go through and I'll be there. Unfortunately, Adam Smasher has decided that now is the time for me to get a chance to avenge David, Becca, and of course Johnny for what he did to them. And I guess Saul makes that list now as well. I'm really excited to see how my knife performs against Adam, and I was not disappointed. I'm shredding through his health near instantly, and the only reason that the fight lasted more than 10 seconds is because it turns out that he gets invincibility a few times in the fight, which is something I somehow didn't notice the half dozen or so other times I've killed him. And I mean, with him dead, that's a wrap on combat. I have definitely felt really vulnerable during fights because of the lack of cyberware. But as I've built up my melee skill tree, I took some of that ground back and managed to get myself in a nice and comfortable position with my build. So, the challenge wasn't actually too hard in the end. Now I just need to jack into Mikoshi and get Alt to get Keanu Reeves out of my head. Alt and Johnny let me know that in order to disentangle the mess in my head, I was turned into an engram, therefore snuffing out my original consciousness and killing my soul. On top of that, my body is going to die if I go back to it, but if I let Johnny take my body instead, he can live a full life in it. It's pretty clear which decision I should make, and that is to go right back to my body so I can get Panam and the Elder Kaldos to try and help me again, because that worked perfectly once, who's to say it won't work the same again? And with that decided, all that's left to do is ride off, far, far away from Night City with Panam and the Nomads to find a second chance for this poor, ugly man. And that is how I didn't beat Cyberpunk 2077 without cyberware. Unless you don't count scanning things. If that's the case, that is how I beat Cyberpunk 2077 without cyberware. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it to the end of the video, I cannot express how much that means to me. It means a lot. Make sure to like the video if you did like it, because I would appreciate that. Subscribe if you want to see whatever videos I make next. And yeah, goodbye.